Welcome to the Quantum AI Coach podcast. I'm Gina, founder of Virtual World Coaching Academy.
You are sitting at your computer right now staring at like a blank invoice. Or maybe it's a new sales page.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Right. And you know the exact number you were supposed to type. You've done the math, you've researched the market, and you know down to the penny what your time, your expertise, and your energy are actually worth.
You've got it all mapped out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But right before your fingers hit the keys, or right before you say that number out loud on a discovery call, you just freeze.
Your whole body just stops.
Yeah, something in your body literally pulls back. Your chest tightens, your brain scrambles, and before you even realize what your mouth is doing, you've knocked 20% off the price.
Just instantly discounted it.
Instantly. It happens in a split second. You hit backspace, you type a smaller number, and immediately tell yourself you're just being competitive.
Or that you just want to be, accessible.
Right, accessible. But if we are being completely honest with you today, that wasn't a strategic business decision, was it?
No, it absolutely wasn't. And I think, we've all been in that exact chair feeling incredibly frustrated because you can sense that disconnect happening in real time.
It's so frustrating.
It really is. You know logically what you should do, but your body physically will not let you do it. We have this tendency to think of business, and specifically pricing, as a purely rational mathematical domain.
Like a land of spreadsheets and logic.
Exactly. But when you experience that physical pullback, you are colliding with something much older and much deeper than math.
Which brings us to what we are digging into today. We're exploring the concept of the invisible income ceiling, specifically through the lens of Gina Pickersgill's work.
Yes, her insights are brilliant on this.
They really are. She's a certified havening techniques practitioner who looks at this entirely differently. Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly why you keep sabotaging your own earning potential.
The real root cause.
Right. We are going to unpack why all those standard business strategies keep failing you when it comes to raising your rates, and how you can finally break through that ceiling by talking to your nervous system instead of just tweaking your pricing tiers. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because the very first thing we need to do is completely reframe how we view this problem. We have to stop treating pricing like it's just a matter of strategy.
That reframe is the foundation of everything. Usually when we hit a wall with our income or we can't seem to charge what we're worth, we treat it as like a data problem.
Like we just don't have enough information yet.
Exactly. We think, oh, I need to research my target audience more thoroughly, or I need to benchmark my competitors again.
Or take another masterclass on sales psychology.
Right. One more course will fix it. We treat it as an issue of logic. But there is a glaring biological flaw in that approach. If it were truly just a logic problem, you would have raised your rates the 10th time you logically thought about doing it.
Wow, yeah.
You wouldn't have just quietly mapped it out on a whiteboard and then stayed exactly where you were.
And that's the frustrating part, right? Because if logic actually drove the bus, we'd all be millionaires just by reading a basic economics textbook.
We really would.
We all know we need to charge more. But logic clearly isn't driving. So if we can rule out a lack of strategy, what is actually happening in the body when we physically flinch at a bigger number?
What's fascinating here is we have to look at how the nervous system operates, because it functions in complete contradiction to your conscious desires.
Okay, how so?
Well, your conscious brain, your logical modern self, looks at a bigger income and says, fantastic, that's an opportunity. That means freedom, vacation, a better life.
All good stuff.
Exactly. But your nervous system, your ancient survival wiring, doesn't process a bigger number as an opportunity at all. It processes it as exposure.
Exposure, like standing up in the tall grass where a predator can suddenly see you.
Precisely. To understand this, we have to talk about the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your brain's ancient, highly sensitive smoke detector.
Just constantly scanning for danger.
Yes. It was designed millions of years ago to keep you alive in a very dangerous world. And somewhere along the line, in your specific nervous system's deep conditioning, more money got wired to mean more visibility.
So it's not about the money itself.
No, not at all. It got wired to mean stepping out of the shadows, taking on more risk, and risking the baseline stability you currently have. The amygdala views the price increase not as a benefit, but as a fundamental threat to your survival.
I love thinking about this in tech terms. It's like you were trying to run a high-powered, multi-million-dollar software program that's your conscious business goal, right?
Right.
Your bold new pricing strategy.
Right.
But you are trying to run it on a 20-year-old hardware system. The moment that new software starts running, it demands more processing power, more visibility.
It asks too much of the system.
Exactly. And the old hardware perceives that massive influx of energy as overheating. It thinks the whole motherboard is going to melt. So what does it do? It forces a thermal shutdown.
It just cuts the power.
Yeah, your brain is literally shutting down your earning potential to protect you from what it perceives as a fatal system error.
That thermal shutdown analogy is spot on. The hardware will always prioritize immediate survival over the software's advanced long-term goals.
Makes total sense.
And you cannot force the software to run smoothly if the hardware keeps pulling the plug out of the wall. To fix the issue, we can't just keep updating the software. We have to understand where that faulty wiring in the hardware came from in the first place.
Right, like why does my smoke detector go off and not someone else's?
Exactly. Why does your specific smoke detector go off when a client wants to hand you money? This is what we call the hidden wealth trigger.
And this trigger is entirely irrational, right? It's not built on adult logic. It is built on early life imprints.
Yes, and we need to define what an imprint actually is. When you are a child, your brain is incredibly neuroplastic.
Explain neuroplastic for us real quick, just so we are all on the same page.
Absolutely. So neuroplasticity basically means your brain is like soft, moldable clay. It is rapidly forming new connections, trying to write the ultimate survival manual for whatever specific environment you happen to be growing up in.
Just taking it all in.
Right. An imprint is a deeply ingrained subconscious rule written in that clay. And because a child's survival depends entirely on their caregivers, the brain takes notes on everything. Let's look at some really common scenarios that create a hidden wealth trigger.
Let's hear them.
For instance, imagine growing up in a house where money always meant tension. You're 7 years old, lying in bed, and you can hear your parents arguing about bills in the kitchen at 2 in the morning.
Oh man, that's heavy.
It is. Your neuroplastic brain is taking notes, and it writes a rule: money equals conflict. Money equals danger.
Wow, so the brain just links the two permanently. Or what about the act of receiving itself? I know a lot of people struggle not just with money, but with someone simply doing them a favor.
That's a huge one.
Right. Suppose growing up, receiving a gift or even just a compliment always came with this quiet, unspoken obligation attached to it. Like nothing was ever truly free.
Strings attached to everything.
Yeah. If your parents bought you something nice, you were constantly reminded of how much they sacrificed for it. So your brain writes a different rule. If I take something, I owe something, and that debt is heavy, manipulative, and unsafe.
Exactly. The brain learns that receiving is actually a trap.
Right.
Or consider a third scenario. Maybe the safest place you ever found in your family dynamic was the one where you just didn't ask for much.
Oh, the easy child.
Yes. Maybe you had a sibling who took up all the oxygen or a parent who was easily overwhelmed. So you became the easy kid. You flew under the radar, you had no needs, and therefore nobody resented you or got angry with you.
You just made yourself invisible.
And your nervous system wrote the ultimate survival rule: staying small, hidden, and inexpensive equals staying safe and loved. Being big, demanding value, or taking up space equals rejection.
Okay, I hear all of that, and it makes total psychological sense. But I'm going to push back on this a little bit because I think a lot of us are sitting here thinking, all right, maybe my parents argued about money when I was 7, but I am 35 years old now.
A fully grown adult.
Right. I'm a professional running a business.
Yeah.
And I have a client sitting across from me who is literally saying, take my money, I trust you, your work is amazing.
The evidence is right there.
Exactly. Why does my adult brain still care about a rule that was written decades ago? Why can't I just look at the empirical evidence right in front of my face and override the 7-year-old?
It's a completely logical question, and it is the exact question that keeps thousands of brilliant business owners stuck in a miserable loop of self-blame. You think you're just broken or weak.
Yeah, you feel like an imposter.
But the reason you can't just look at the evidence and override it is because the part of your brain that handles these imprints, the limbic system, where that amygdala lives, does not have a sense of linear time.
Wait, so you're saying, like, it doesn't even know what year it is?
Not at all. The limbic system doesn't know you are a 35-year-old business owner with an LLC. It doesn't process calendars.
That is wild.
When a client says, I want to pay you a large sum of money, your conscious modern mind hears success. but your limbic system registers a massive influx of that quote-unquote dangerous resource. It registers that you're about to step out of that safe, hidden, inexpensive space and become highly visible.
In tall grass again.
Exactly. So it fires off the alarm right now, in the present moment, with the exact same intensity as when you were 7. Flinching in that moment isn't you being difficult or bad at business. It is the nervous system doing exactly what it was programmed to do. It is stepping in to keep your level of receiving small enough to feel survivable.
Survivable? That is such a heavy word for a basic business transaction. But it perfectly frames the stakes from the body's perspective. And if we really accept that this is a biological survival mechanism, we suddenly see exactly why all our attempts to just power through it end up failing so spectacularly.
Yes. We run headfirst into the trap of willpower. Culturally, we have this obsession with just pushing through the fear. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we totally do that. We think, okay, I know my body's freaking out, my palms are sweating, but I am just going to white knuckle it. I'm going to force the number out of my mouth.
Just muscle through it.
Yeah. Let's walk through what that actually looks like. You gather all your courage, you get on the Zoom call, and you actually manage to blurt out the higher number without choking on the words.
And the client says yes.
The client says yes. You get off the call, and you think you've won. You think you finally beat the invisible ceiling. But then, quietly, almost without even noticing you were doing it, you start to sabotage the container you just built.
Because your body is suddenly flooded with stress hormones. You force the issue, and now your amygdala is screaming. So what do you do to relieve the pressure? You start to over-deliver.
Yes. You send the contract, but you throw in an extra coaching call that you didn't even discuss.
Or you start answering the client's Slack messages at 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday.
When your boundary policy clearly says no weekends, or worse, before the ink is even dry, you panic and say, you know what, because you're a first-time client, I can actually offer you a 20% discount.
And how do we always justify that behavior to ourselves? What's the lie we tell?
Oh, we call it excellent customer service. We tell ourselves we are just being generous, or that we want to ensure they get massive value. We completely mask it in virtue.
We do. We wrap our trauma response in a bow and call it good business. But we need to be crystal clear here. Answering emails at midnight and throwing in free work is not you being generous.
No, it's not.
It is the invisible income ceiling reasserting itself the very moment logic tried to bypass it. You used willpower to force the higher number out of your mouth, but your nervous system immediately kicked in to restore the balance of safety.
By shrinking the exposure.
Exactly. By over-delivering or discounting, you are subconsciously trying to reduce the exposure. You are frantically trying to bring the transaction back down to a level that feels survivable to your inner 7-year-old. You cannot talk your nervous system into feeling safe. Willpower might be able to set the number on the invoice, but willpower cannot make your body believe you are actually allowed to keep it.
So we're basically building this analogy of trying to hold a giant beach ball underwater.
I love this analogy.
You are standing in the pool, and you use all your physical strength to shove that huge beach ball down beneath the surface. And for a minute, while you are on that sales call, the water looks perfectly calm. The ball is hidden. You look professional and composed.
But the physical toll of holding it down is immense. Your arms are shaking.
Right. And the absolute second your attention shifts, the second you stop applying maximum exhausting pressure, that beach ball comes exploding violently back to the surface.
Splashing everywhere.
And in your business, that explosion isn't a splash of water. It's sending that midnight email or suddenly offering a massive unprompted discount. The pressure normalizes, the beach ball is back floating safely on top of the water, the amygdala stops screaming, and you are left completely exhausted, earning exactly what you were earning before.
It's a brilliant way to visualize it. The nervous system will always win a war of attrition against willpower because the nervous system operates automatically in the background, whereas willpower requires constant, conscious, caloric fuel.
It's just exhausting.
It really is. So if strategy fails because it ignores the body and willpower fails because it fights the body, we have to look at the alternative. How do we stop fighting the beach ball?
Exactly. So if willpower is a dead end, it sounds like we have to somehow reprogram the hardware itself. We have to shift our focus away from the magical number we want to charge and look at our physical capacity. The goal isn't just to charge more, it's to build an identity that isn't compressed.
I love that word, compressed. When you are operating from those old survival imprints, Your energy is physically and emotionally compressed. You are shrinking to make the number feel smaller. You are over-explaining yourself to justify your existence in the room.
Constantly apologizing for your prices.
Right. But an uncompressed identity, it negotiates from a place of profound safety. It states a price and then sits comfortably in the silence without apologizing. Building capacity means changing the physical tolerance of your nervous system so that receiving doesn't trigger the smoke detector anymore.
And we can actually test this capacity right now. If you are listening to this, I want you to try something. I want you to picture the real number you want to be earning.
Not the safe one.
Right, not the safe number you usually fall back on. Think of the real, uncompromised, slightly terrifying number that reflects the actual value you bring to the table. Picture it on an invoice. Got it. Now pause and pay close attention to your biology. What just happened in your body? Did your chest tighten? Did your stomach drop? Did your throat suddenly feel restricted or dry?
If you felt any of those sensations, I want you to honor them, but also recognize them for what they are. That sensation is not random. That tightness is the imprint happening live in your body.
It's the alarm going off.
Yes, it is the physical manifestation of that old rule screaming, danger, you're too visible. And this is where we have to look at the actual mechanics of unwiring that alarm.
So this is where Gina Pickersgill's work with havening techniques comes into play. But I'm going to be honest with you, and I think a lot of our listeners might be feeling this too. When I first heard about havening, I was a little skeptical.
It's a very common reaction.
It involves using physical touch and attention to release these stress responses. And I have to ask, wait, so you're telling me rubbing my arms or my hands is going to somehow help me close a $10,000 contract? That sounds a little woo-woo to me, honestly. How does that biologically work? How does touching my arm rewrite a childhood imprint?
I completely understand the skepticism because we're so conditioned to think we can just think our way out of our problems.
And we just want to rationalize it.
Exactly. But let's break down the hard neuroscience of why havening works and why it is the exact opposite of woo-woo. It has to do with brain waves, specifically delta waves.
Delta waves, like what we experience when we sleep.
Exactly. Delta waves are the slow, high-amplitude brain waves we produce during deep restorative sleep. It is the state where the brain heals and consolidates memory. Havening utilizes very specific types of gentle touch, usually on the upper arms, the palms of the hands, or the face.
Okay.
And neuroscientific research has shown that this specific type of touch actually generates delta waves in the waking brain.
Okay, so the touch creates a physical frequency in the brain. But how does that fix the money trauma?
Here is the magic mechanism. In the amygdala, where that traumatic imprint is stored, the memory is essentially glued to a panic response by these little things called AMPA receptors.
The AMPA receptors, got it.
Right. When you bring that stressful money imprint to mind, like picturing the terrifying invoice, you activate the memory. But while you are holding that stressor in your mind, you apply the havening touch. You flood the brain with delta waves.
And what do the waves do?
These delta waves trigger a chemical cascade that literally retracts those AMPA receptors in the amygdala. It biologically unglues the emotional trauma from the memory.
That is wild. So it's like a software wipe. You still remember the event, you remember your parents arguing, or you remember the fear of asking for money, but the chemical panic button attached to it has been disconnected.
Exactly. It's a process called depotentiation. The amygdala registers safety instead of threat, and the biological alarm system is permanently downregulated. You are finally speaking to the security guard in its native tongue.
That is the crucial distinction. Words and logic and strategy, that's the language of the neocortex, the logical brain. But the amygdala doesn't speak English. It speaks sensation.
Right.
Touch and somatic feeling are the language of the limbic system. So by using physical touch and focused attention, we are essentially communicating safety to the body in a language it actually understands, rather than just yelling logic at it.
That is exactly it. You are saying you can stand down, the threat is gone, and once that physiological pattern is unwired in the amygdala, you don't have to rely on exhausting willpower anymore.
The beach ball is gone.
Exactly. You don't have to hold the beach ball underwater because the beach ball has been deflated. The ceiling dissolves because the floor of your capacity has been biologically raised.
This is where the work becomes tangible. We've spent this time dissecting the mechanics of the hidden wealth trigger and the case for building real capacity, but let's be honest.
Right. You cannot hold a bigger number in your business if your nervous system still reads more money as more exposure.
Exactly. It's akin to constructing a multi-million-pound skyscraper on a foundation of shifting sand.
Yeah, it's just going to collapse.
If you felt that tightness in your body today, in your chest, your stomach, your throat, when you pictured the real number, you aren't broken. You're merely patterned. And today, you are taking full responsibility for unwiring that pattern, not overriding it.
Exactly. And that's the bridge into the work Gina Pickersgill is doing. She's a certified Havening techniques practitioner, and her approach doesn't stop at pricing strategy.
Right.
She works directly with the nervous system, using touch and attention to help release the old imprints that make receiving feel like exposure in the first place.
Wow.
That's her working model, not managing the discomfort around money, letting the pattern underneath it actually change.
So if this hit something in your body today, look to the resource in the description right now, the Heal Your Money Wounds workshop.
Yeah, this is your space to go deeper into exactly where your specific imprints around money got written.
Right, and to start building the capacity to actually hold what you're asking for. But before you click that link, take a moment to do the sovereign thing right here.
Definitely.
If this shifted something for you today, hit like, subscribe, and enable notifications. Because in 2026, an uncompressed relationship with receiving isn't a nice to have.
No, it's the only way to price, negotiate, and grow without quietly discounting yourself back down.
So what does this all mean? We focused entirely on your income today. But if your nervous system is secretly equating more with dangerous exposure in your finances, you have to ask yourself, where else in your life, maybe your relationships, your creative projects, or your personal boundaries, is your body quietly shrinking the room to keep you safe? Now go reclaim your capacity. We'll see you in the next one.
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs of things that hold you back is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up something, possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video, it means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky meets the sea, a calm in the chaos, wild and free. Light wraps around her soul. She's ready